with another podcast, a live podcast for that ass. And if you notice, that's not Steve. That's Lance Twidwell from The Spoken. Lance, what's up, brother?
It's good to be here, dude. It's been long overdue on both of our ends. I have not had you on my show yet, but we talked about this a couple of months ago. And we're doing this now. And that's all that matters. We're starting things new. And Mike, I'm so glad to be here with you, brother. How are you?
Dude, I'm good. I got to the gym today. I'm trying to drink a protein shake. Let me tell you something. It tastes like ass. Dude,
hey,
I'm not big on the protein shakes, bro.
I get it. I hate that chalky taste.
Yes.
It almost like makes you lose your appetite. This is what I recommend. Go to, I don't know if you guys have Quick Trips where you guys are from or any of your local gas stations. Go get Muscle Milk. They have chocolate, they have vanilla, they have peanut butter, they have all different types of flavors. You do not taste that protein, man. It's 40 grams of protein, too. You only need a couple of those to hit your requirements for your daily protein. So I highly recommend that.
That sounds awesome. I got the Muscle Milk. I bought it like cheap, the powder kind. And dude, it's just powder does not hit the same. It sucks.
Nah, you got to get it right. Like they have to mix it for you, dude. They just do it right.
Right. But man, well, we met each other for the first time back, a few weeks ago when we did the Chew with the Crew event in KC at Zarda, man. And that was awesome. How cool was it meeting all at Chiefs Kingdom that day, dude?
It was a lot of fun. I never take those moments lightly. I love meeting people, even if they're not fans of our show, because a lot of those people were there for you guys, and that was so cool to see the community that ACU has, what you guys do with your guys' chat and the people that are included. It's so cool to see that and meeting those people. But it was cool to meet some of the people that your show brought over to mine, which I'm very humbled by and I appreciate you guys and the support you guys have given me over this last year. I mention you guys all the time on our show as well, always giving you guys shout outs, but to be tangible, to hang out with you, hang out with Steve, hang out with you guys, Haley Lewis, obviously, it was just a blast. The night flew by, to be honest with you, man, because we were having such a good time.
Right.
It just felt like one thing led to another, and the next thing we're all shaking hands and saying goodnight. So, dude, I had a blast, and I appreciate you guys for inviting me, and I'll do that every single time you guys do something like that.
Yeah, for sure, man. It was awesome having you. It was awesome having Haley. Meeting everybody, like you said, was great. Like, everybody was cool. It felt like we were all old friends. It's kind of strange because none of us had met each other. Even Haley. Right. We'd never met Haley, and we just all clicked. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, we'd love to get back out there and do it again. And we appreciate you supporting the podcast. We try to shout you out some, man. We talk about your Twitter. We talk about things. We'll try to bring you up on the show. Speaking of Twitter, you take some heat on Twitter, man. Like, I don't care if it's a good take. I don't care if it's a mediocre take. I don't care if it's a horrible take. They're going to come at your throat, dude.
That's the nature of the beast. And listen, you and I have had our talks about this before.
Yeah.
I've been on Twitter now for well over a decade. When I first got on there, I was a young kid and I had no idea what the world was about. And let me just tell you, Twitter really taught me the world really quickly. And I had to realize, man, that you know what? No matter how, like you said, the level, severity, the accuracy of said take, there's always going to be at least one person that's going to disagree with you.
Oh, yeah.
So you can't sit here and let that bother you, man. You got to enjoy it. In fact, you got to turn it and flip it on the other side, because if people care that much about what you have to say, then that means that you're doing something right, and that means that you're important to that person. So you should look at it as something that's flattering.
Right, man. If you ain't got haters, you ain't got supporters either, I guess. I guess that's the way that works.
Yeah.
Shout out to people in the chat so far, man. We've got a lot of people in here already. And yes, this was a surprise. We don't usually go live on Thursdays. We definitely don't go live this early. And nobody expected Lance to be with me, but Steve is at work again. He cannot get a day off work lately. Like, they have got our schedule so screwed up. And YouTube, I'm sure, Lance, you've heard about what's happened with YouTube. YouTube demonetized us, kicked us right out of their YouTube program, because they said that we what was it they put it? We take people's content. Like, me and Steve are not real people. We are copied of someone else.
Well, it's perfect you had Marcus Dash on
Right.
from Chief Concerns last night, because of the fact they tried to do that same crap to them about 5-6 months ago.
Yep.
So whatever we got to do, man, I'll drop some things on my platform and get YouTube's attention. Whatever we got to do, man, because that's ridiculous. You guys work your asses off, man.
Right.
That shouldn't be happening.
Yeah, we've reached out to YouTube several times. We've talked to a few people through Twitter. You cannot get through to them on the phone. Like, they will not talk to you. It's all a bunch of bots, and they've determined the bots have flagged us for reused content, as if there's two other ugly dudes talking Chiefs football all the time. I have no idea. It's funny because what they claim is reused content. If you go to other channels and scroll through their shorts and stuff, that is reused content. Like, let's just say that's reused content. I won't name names and I won't name channels, but it's out there, and we didn't do it. But either way, we're biting the bullet, so we're demonetized until January, dude.
That's
we missed the
ridiculous,
entire
man.
football season, man.
Well, the good thing is you guys have a community here that's going to support you guys through it all. But you guys shouldn't have to go through this, man. I really did not know that until right now. So I'm flabbergasted right now. I'm pissed off for you guys, man.
Like I spoke to Marcus in the moment because I knew they had went through it, and he tried to help anyway. And we got in touch with Twitter and stuff, or through Twitter. It just didn't help, man. They're not going to help us. They're sticking behind their bots and whatever else, and they're not going to disperse with such lowly people that only have 17,000 subscribers. They're not going to talk with us. They don't care what we do for their platform, and whatever. We don't care about them either. We started a Patreon, by the way, so we're trying to get that going. If you guys haven't joined, patreon.com/allchieftUp. We're throwing some podcast stuff up there. This week, we actually haven't got to drop nothing because Steve cannot get off work, but we're going to try to get that up as fast as we can. But
and real quick, Mike, real quick before we move on, I want you guys, because I'm sure everybody will know before the end of the show, to join our Facebook page, but I want you to post, if you can, man. You know how it goes. You guys always post your content to our page because you guys are like family to us. Drop your Patreon on there as well, because I know our people will support you guys as well. Because that's ridiculous, dude. So go ahead and throw that on there now, whenever you can.
Awesome, brother.
Yeah,
I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Well, enough of the ACU YouTube battle / sob story. We've bit the bullet, and we're just gonna ride it out. I mean, at this point, who cares? Let's talk some Chiefs, man. If you've seen the cover of the thumbnail that you've clicked on here, and there's 217 watching, and we appreciate all y'all spending a Thursday afternoon with us. Let us drop some comments, drop some questions in the chat. We'll get to them. But Lance, it was reported today that L'Jarius Sneed and the Chiefs, there has been some discussions on a contract extension. Me and Steve have been very much, we brought this up in the offseason. We said Sneed could be a casualty of Chiefs and the way they handle corners. We took massive heat. People love Sneed in Chiefs Kingdom. Yeah. They were not having it. But now it looks like the Chiefs are saying, hey, we're going to talk about this. What do you think? Do you think they're just blowing smoke or what's up?
Well, I mean, I'm going to join you and Steve, and usually our opinions do align a lot of times, for better or worse, because I know some people like to attach us together and you know, burn us at the stakes together. But that, you know, hey, the more the merrier, man. Three's a company. I will say this. Since day one, I have been a Sneed supporter. Even out when he got drafted, I was going to all the experts, quote unquote, of the draft, and everybody said, "Man, the Chiefs got a steal here. This is a versatile guy. He's very underrated. He's sneaky athletic." They gave us all the ins and outs of what Sneed is coming into the league. And from day one, even though he only played 9 games in his rookie season of 2020, we knew that the Chiefs found something special in this kid. He's one of the most versatile defenders in the league, and to this day, that's only become more profound. He is having his best season of his career, at least in my opinion. Him and McDuffie have been the best duo for corners in the entire league in my eyes, from what I've seen from this defense, especially against the competition they've gone against. And L'Jarius Sneed, more times than not, has taken on the brunt of taking on wide receiver ones even more than McDuffie has. So you're seeing Sneed get a lot of opportunities to showcase his abilities. And for me, I've made it very clear. I even tweeted out this morning, so I'm so glad we're talking about this right now. I said this morning that my stance has never moved. If L'Jarius Sneed is a Chief for the next 3 to 4 years, I'm not upset about that whatsoever.
Perfectly happy with it.
Yes, because he only makes this defense great, that much greater, and he's not going to get any worse anytime soon. The only concern I have, of course, like anybody, is injury concerns. We know he's had some knee injuries, things of that nature, and we know that the Chiefs have continued to win without him. In fact, the Chiefs are 8-1 when L'Jarius Sneed doesn't play, and that includes the 4 snaps he played in the AFC Championship last year against the Bengals, and he had a bunch of rookie corners out there picking off Joe Burrow. So I don't want to say that L'Jarius Sneed is a guy that the Chiefs should move off of. What I've said, though, and like you just alluded to, the Chiefs are going to have to start spending money, and that means they're also going to have to be cheap somewhere else. And we have seen time and time again over the last 5-6 years that Brett Veach has continuously and consistently been cheap at cornerback. And unless you are a one-of-one unicorn player, which I don't believe Sneed is, I think he's awesome, but I don't think he's a set above everybody else. I don't think the Chiefs are going to pay him. And I don't know. I don't want to speculate too much as to why this news has come out. It does seem a little weird how all of a sudden in week 10, week 11, this is coming out. I don't understand that, but I'm not here to figure that out. It does seem strange. All I'm going to say is I think if the Chiefs were going to get him, because if you look at SpotRack.com, his value is set at around $6.8 million per year. So it's about 4 years less than $30 million, about $27.5 million. I think the Chiefs, if they really wanted to get that contract done with Sneed, they could have done that this offseason. He would have agreed to it based upon his market value. That leads me to believe that one or two things is going on. The Chiefs really don't want to pay Sneed, and or Sneed is looking to make some big money, which I get because the guy's a 4th-round pick.
Right. He
wants to get paid. So if I'm a betting man right now, Mike, I don't think it's going to happen. I think that Sneed will be on another team, and rightfully so, because I think he's going to get the bank wherever he goes. We saw Charvarius Ward get paid by the Niners. I think Sneed's a lot better than Charvarius Ward, and I think that's what's going to happen. And I think the Chiefs are going to continue to funnel in young talent through the draft. And I think Shamari Connor could be a guy that could ultimately and potentially replace L'Jarius Sneed if need be.
Hey, man, look, dropping facts. These are facts. This is not my feelings. This is not anything. L'Jarius Sneed leads the team in missed tackles that he did last year. He had more missed tackles than anybody. He tends to tackle with his head down. He knocks himself out of key games. You mentioned the Bengals game. He does that. But Sneed does do a good job for us. He does what he has to do, and I think he is a game changer on the back end for the Spags defense. We seen that last year against Seattle when he started shadowing DK Metcalf, and that changed the defense from that point on. They've continued doing it this year. Look what he's done against Christian Kirk. Look what he's done against Justin Jefferson. Look what he's done. He struggled a little bit again in week 1, which I think recovering from that knee all off season had him a little rusty. So I think against Detroit, he looked a little rusty. And then he struggled a little bit against Denver a few weeks ago. Cortland Sutton ate his lunch a few times. But I will say, I think Judy caught the touchdown in the end zone. I want to say that was against the 7th-round pick, Justin no, not Justin. Jalen Watson.
Yeah.
All these Watsons, man, in my head. But, yeah, I think Sneed, he serves a purpose. And like you said, somewhere around $7 million is his sweet spot. He wants to go somewhere and get paid. This is his first big contract. Will the Chiefs do it? I don't know. Will the Chiefs say, look, we can go $21 million, 25, 26 for maybe a 3-year deal with an out after 2? If he'll take something like that, I'm fine with it. I think having him and McDuffie on the field for 3 more years is great. Like you mentioned, there's the best duo in the league, although I want to say Colin Cowherd or one of them the other day said that there were no elite corner duos, like an idiot. Like, who was that? Who was that said it? It wasn't Cowherd.
That was Colin. Yeah, I'm the one that tweeted it.
Dude, he's an idiot. Okay, that's where I'd seen it. Dude, flat out stupid. By the way, but I believe that these two together are good. Am I ready to say Trent McDuffie is a number 1 lockdown, number 1 can guard number 1s in this league? I want to say I'm there, but I'm not, and I'll tell you why. He struggles with size. He's shown it this year. He's shown it against A.T. Perry and the Saints when A.T. Perry eat him alive in the preseason. He struggles with a little bit of size, so I don't know if I'm for sure saying that McDuffie can move out of the slot, go to the boundary, and be an effective number 1 corner right today. But if you give him maybe 2 more years and then his rookie contract comes to an end, I'd love to sign him up for 5 more, and maybe that's when we can start edging L'Jarius out. But I'm with you. I don't know if we pay L'Jarius what he wants to be paid. He's going to have to take a hometown discount, and he ain't from Kansas City, guys. He's from Louisiana. So if he wants the hometown discount, he'll go to the Saints.
Right, and I've already had, just for the record, I've had some of L'Jarius Sneed's family come at me when the reports had come out during training camp that he was missing practice after practice after practice because he had knee swelling. And I'm like, guys, this is the signs of a player that I just do not. I think the writing's on the wall. The Chiefs are not signing this guy back because if they were, they had already done it. I know the Chris Jones extension thing was, the cloud over the whole situation. But L'Jarius Sneed, if he is a priority, and quite frankly, a PR move would have been really nice during that Chris Jones, stunt. Right. You sign a L'Jarius Sneed, and you talked about how much these fans love him. That would have taken the distraction back, where it's Chris Jones is doing his thing. Hey guys, look, we signed L'Jarius Sneed. Rejoice. Don't worry about Chris Jones now. No, they didn't do that, and I think that Brett Veach is very intentional. And if you listen to the tone, I always pay attention to Brett Veach's body language because he's a really bad liar. And Brett, I love Brett. I've met him a couple times. He's a good dude. Look,
he's about this.
You could tell. You could tell when Brett is really trying to sign a guy back and when he's not. And you could just tell by the tone, he has the non-committal look, like he's like, yeah, we're just kind of, weighing out all options. But when he was talking about, Chris Jones, he's like, yeah, we're hoping we get Chris Jones back because that is his intention.
I believe 100% they were trying to get Chris Jones back.
Yeah.
I'm firm believer with that. I think Chris Jones played his hand a little too much. I think it was his representation. Those guys, it seemed like to me they were a bunch of mob bosses. Like with Chris Jones, like, dude, it looked scary when he showed up to game one, right? It looked like he was being held hostage.
If those guys are mob bosses, they got everybody whacked because those guys don't know what the hell they're doing, bro. Like those guys would last like 15 minutes on a Sopranos episode. Those guys are complete buffoons, bro. Yes, it was 100% on their end. I do think the Chiefs want to play it a little more team friendly as they should because they have a $500 million quarterback that they got to continue to finagle the cap around. But yes, Chris Jones was offered more than fair value, and according to some reports, whether you believe them or not, it's fine. But the Katz brothers did him no favors by having it sit the way it did. That's him sitting in the stands in week one. It never made sense to me, and it never will make sense to me. And I'm the biggest Chris Jones defender you'll ever find.
Yeah, I was a firm believer. We both were. Me and Steve both. We thought Chris Jones had to come in. We thought he was a difference maker for this defense. However, week one when he was out, we did not look that bad. Right. But when he come back in, you've seen a big difference. Jacksonville week 2 and beyond. I'll say this: we haven't mentioned this with the corner thing yet either. Najee Johnson was looking very good before he went down with a knee injury. Nick Jones was looking very good, another 7th round pick, and then we've not even seen him because of his hand or whatever. We've got a lot in the arsenal back there in corner. Like, we're super deep. So if Brett Veach moves off corner, that does not surprise me one bit. We'll get to Chris Jones. Will Chris Jones sign? Like, who would you rather have, Chris Jones or L'Jarius Sneed at the end of the year going forward? Keep in mind, Chris Jones going to be 30. His production, I don't think his productions went down much this year. I just think that people are game planning a little bit different for him. They're getting away with a lot of holding with Chris Jones, plain and simple. But what do you think? A 30-year-old Chris Jones, or would you rather have Sneed back knowing that we're pretty deep at corner? What would you think?
It's Chris Jones I don't have to think about it. And this is no knock on L'Jarius Sneed, but your point's 100% valid. First of all, that's just one part of it. That Brett Veach, we can criticize in some of the other areas, and I'm sure we'll talk about in a minute about other areas on the team that he seems to miss on a lot of times in the draft. You know where he doesn't miss? Defensive back.
Yeah.
And that's not just drafting, that's free agent signings. He got Tyrann Mathieu, he got Justin Reid. Justin Reid may not be a great player, but he's made some impact plays over these last couple of seasons, helped this team win a Super Bowl. Looks like he's going to help them win another one. The fact remains that Brett Veach has been nails at defensive back, man, in all levels, in all areas. And like I said, Charvarius Ward gets himself a $40 million contract with the Niners. That was a guy they traded a backup center for in 2018, Parker Ingringer. So the Chiefs getting that kind of value out of a guy that nobody knew, nobody cared about, that's praise to Brett Veach. And you're right, man. They just continue to have this rotating door of guys. So that alone lessens the value of L'Jarius Sneed. But more so, we know that some defenses are built differently. We know that some defenses aren't predicated on the pass rush, even though that's something that most teams believe that's the right way of going about things. We know what this defense is predicated on. It is 95. It all ends and begins with him. And Brett Veach has had the luxury, quite frankly, of when he walked in as Chiefs GM in 2018, he had a prime Chris Jones to build around. And that has not changed because Chris Jones has not dropped off one bit. People talk about his numbers this year. He's still second on the team in sacks, and that's despite the fact amongst all pass rushers in the entire NFL, he has been double-teamed more than anybody outside of 2 players, and that's 71% of the time. He has the exact same amount of sacks as Aaron Donald, which everybody loves to compare him to. Aaron Donald may be the best defensive lineman of all time. They are at the same place right now, and the reason why guys like George Karlaftis and Mike Dana are having career years is because Chris Jones is the one that's getting the double teams. You take him out of this defense, sure, Brett Veach might be able to find a way to give Spags what he needs to continue to up this pass rush. They can make do. But which is a bigger hole to fill? An all-pro in the middle of your defense that's done nothing but continue to produce week in and week out, or a cornerback that Brett Veach has already potentially replaced with the young guys around him because when he's out of the lineup, you can't tell the difference. That's the point I'm trying to make. So it's no knock on L'Jarius. L'Jarius plays his role, versatile as hell, love the guy to death. He comes in, does his job, doesn't talk crap, does what he needs to do, and is a team guy. But Chris Jones is an all-pro, one-of-one unicorn player. So even with his age in consideration, he is one of those special guys that you know that even in his 30s is going to continue to produce because he doesn't have a history of injuries. L'Jarius does. He knows the different defenses he's been through. He's been through multiple defenses. Was with the Bob Sutton defense, excelled. Been in the Spags defense, excelled. It doesn't matter what scheme he has, doesn't matter what guys are around. He will be the same guy each and every time. And to me, you can't replace a Chris Jones just like that. So if the Chiefs can sign him long term, I don't even care. It could be Nick Bolton. It could be L'Jarius Sneed. It could be anybody else on that defense. I'm taking Chris Jones over them, and I'm taking him without a second's hesitation.
Right. So Chris Jones, you mentioned his productivity has not really fallen off this year. There's games where he doesn't look like he's making much of an impact. Again, a lot of holding going on. Right. I think against Chicago, he didn't do too much because he was battling like a groin injury or something throughout the game that nobody knew about. He also missed the entire first week. The second week back against Jacksonville, his snaps were limited. But yet, did you know out of defensive interior, he still is number 2 in the league with 7 sacks. The only one above him is the Baltimore Ravens defensive tackle, Justin Matabuke, with 9 sacks. So he's still at the top. He's at the top in pressures. He's at the top in rush percentage. Like you said, he is a unicorn-type player. And the thing is, he's a defensive interior guy. Like, you do not expect him to put up double-digit sacks. That's not what they're supposed to do. But he does it. So it's funny that I think people's like, well, he's not going to have 17 sacks. He doesn't need it. He doesn't need 17 sacks to be effective.
And Mike, real quick, to that point, not to cut you off here, but to that point, that's the standard that people have now set on Chris Jones is,
right.
Oh, well, he's not going to get 17 sacks. Guys, you understand that's like TJ Watt, Myles Garrett numbers. Those are premier edge rushers. Like, to put him in that same caliber is saying something. And when you average out his career since 2016, because his rookie season, I think he only had 2.5 sacks, if I'm not mistaken. Even with that considered, he averages 7.5 sacks per season as an interior pass rusher. Do you know who also averages 7.5 sacks as an interior pass rusher? Warren Sapp, one of the greatest interior pass rushers to ever live. Right. And that is the exact same average. You take away his rookie year, Chris Jones' rookie year, the man averages 10 sacks a season. And he's on pace for 11 this year, over 11. So I think that he has spoiled a lot of people, man. He's set such a high standard that when he only gets 11, 12 sacks, like, damn, is Chris okay? Did he miss like 5 games? No, it's because of the fact this man gets double teamed more than almost anybody in the entire league and continues to produce even at that level. It's insane, man, what he does.
Yeah, and you mentioned Warren Sapp, and the funny thing is people say that you fall off after 2020, after you hit 30. You know what I'm saying? But Warren Sapp actually had one of his higher sack totals at late in his career. I want to say he was 33, 34 off the top of my head. So it can still be done. I don't think Chris Jones is washed by any means, and I'm with you. I think we're so deep at corner that you would have to take Sneed off the team before you, in my opinion, would take Chris Jones. Does that mean you pay Chris Jones over $30 million a year? Probably not. He's probably still going to have to get down towards Brett Veach's 25-ish number, and it depends. But either way, if you have him, if you don't have him, I think it hurts the defense more. Now, I will say this. You've seen who's the big kid that the Eagles drafted at number 10? I forget his name off the top of my head. He is lighting it up as a rookie year. Jalen Carter.
Yeah.
He's having a good season. They got him in the first round. Like, there is potential to grab somebody there, but I do believe you have to almost be top 15 to 20. I don't think Kalijah Cansey's actually produced much for the Bucs. I'll have to go check that out. I'm not 100% for sure. I kind of want to see what he has done because I was kind of big on Kalijah Cansey. I'll see what he's done. I'll bring up his PFF stats in a minute, but I'm with you. I think that L'Jarius Sneed has to be the one that you would send out. And we've also got, look, you're going to have Creed Humphrey coming up for a contract soon. You've got Trey Smith coming up for a contract soon. You've got Willie Gay coming up this offseason. You've got Nick Bolton coming up. It doesn't end, and you cannot keep all these guys. And you better believe that Creed Humphrey's going to want top-of-the-line money. He's a top 5 center in this league. Like, he really is. Nick Bolton, he's probably going to want top 10, 15 money. I mean, he's up there too. He don't get the respect he deserves. I could see Willie leaving in the offseason. What do you think about Willie?
Yeah, this is so when it comes to these guys, and I've had to make, growing up as a Chiefs fan my whole life, the Chiefs weren't in Super Bowl contention a lot growing up. And so you got attached to guys, and Carl Peterson and John Dorsey and some of these other GMs, they were so good at keeping the guys that everybody loved. So you get attached to these guys. But the Brett Veach era is way different because this team's striving for Super Bowls, so you have to be willing to let go of guys that you love so much. There's fan favorites don't exist as long in Kansas City as they used to because this team is building to win more Super Bowls. That's why I said enjoy Isaiah Pacheco while you got him, because the Chiefs aren't giving him a second contract.
Right.
With Willie Gay, when it comes to Willie Gay, when it comes to guys like that, I always ask this one question to myself. Do I believe that guy is better at his job than Brett Veach is? If I think he's better at his job than Brett Veach is, they should sign them. Because that means that Brett Veach will not be able to replace those guys, at least in my opinion. I love Willie Gay. Dude is usually the best athlete on the field more times than he's not. But I do believe that Brett Veach is better at drafting than Willie Gay is at tackling and covering. I love Willie Gay. This is not a knock on him. I trust that Brett Veach would be able to adequately replace him before I would like to sign off on the Chiefs paying him $15 million for the next 3 to 4 seasons, because I just don't know if Willie Gay is that much more of an impact player than a guy the Chiefs could go and get in the second or third round, kind of like they got with Willie Gay, and replace him that way, much cheaper, even younger, even though he's not old by any means. You can go and get a guy and keep that cap number down to where you can go and spend where you actually need to go and spend. I think that it sometimes gets a little conflicting because we love these guys so much, but in the grand scheme of things, you have to ask yourself, do you have to have this guy in order to better your chances to win a Super Bowl? In my eyes, Willie Gay is great for this team right now, but moving forward, I do believe the Chiefs could continue to be in Super Bowl contention without Willie. So at this point, I'm willing to let the Chiefs let him walk and continue to move forward and let Brett Veach replace him through the draft or through a free agent signing that's a little bit cheaper.
Right. I think out of all the guys, I think Creed and Nick Bolton probably at the top over Willie Gay and Trey Smith. Love Willie Gay and Trey Smith. But let's look at guard for just a second. Trey Smith, for example, if he goes out and wants to get paid, say he doesn't want to be here, I don't know. I don't know why he wouldn't. Love Trey Smith. But come on now, you've got Darian Kennard, you've got Mike Caliendo, we've got all these guys that have made the team before. They have all been right there on the cusp. We've got a very good offensive line in the wings waiting a little bit. So I don't think you would be hurting as bad to get rid of a Trey Smith over Nick Bolton. You don't let Nick Bolton walk. You know what I'm saying? To bring in Trey Smith. And I know a lot of people didn't like that. They said Trey Smith is a cornerstone of the offensive line. But to be honest, Tooney's not going to play at a high level forever either, so you've got that, Yeah,
here's the thing. I'm actually a little bit on the other side of this because, first of all, you and I 100% agree on Creed. Creed's going nowhere except to the bank because the Chiefs are going to pay him whatever he wants because he is one of, if not the best center outside of Jason Kelce in the entire league. Go ahead.
Okay, well, you just kind of answered it. Do you think Creed is right now the number 2 center, number 3 center in the league, or do you think he's somewhere hovering around 5 to 10, somewhere in that mark?
Well, look, it's like this. I think right now the Chiefs have the best interior offensive line in the league because Patrick Mahomes doesn't usually get pressured up front,
right.
At least not from what I've seen. Creed is healthy every single game. I've never seen him have a single bad game where it's like, golly, dude, Creed was bad today. I've never seen that from him. He plays every snap. You've only seen the center position. You don't ever worry about the center position, ever. And that, to me, you want that. And for me, that's where it kind of segues into the Trey Smith argument because we know how much of an investment Patrick Mahomes is. We know that he's a special player. He is what the Chiefs are, and he is what it decides ultimately whether they win Super Bowls or not, is his health. So for me, I'm always going to be a little bit more on the side of invest in your offensive line as much as you possibly can. And if it takes monetary funds to do so, as opposed to going and drafting guys, I can live with that. And I love Nick Bolton. I said from the day they drafted him, I had a whole show that I dedicated to breaking down the draft picks, and I said Nick Bolton was one of my favorites because they got him on that extra pick through the Ravens, number 58 overall. And I said usually those little picks that you never really see coming end up boding well for the team. And he's been a tackling machine. He's a throwback type of linebacker that you love in the middle of the field that, quite frankly, the Chiefs did miss since prime Derrick Johnson. But here's the thing we got to remember here, Mike. The Chiefs won a Super Bowl 4 years ago with 2 of the worst middle linebackers in football. So I look at this team and I'm thinking, do they really need Nick Bolton? It's the same principle I was giving to Willie Gay. I love Nick Bolton. He's a great tackler, great leader. Every defense would want to have a Nick Bolton. But if I have to choose between paying, in my opinion, a top tier guard, and I don't know what the money would really be for Trey, because I know Joe Thuney made a substantial money coming into Kansas City, record breaking money, but he also was a left guard, and he was an experienced guard that won Super Bowls in New England, so it was a little bit of a different situation, whereas Trey would be coming off his rookie deal, still developing into the player he is. For me, I would rather ensure the protection of Patrick Mahomes with the guys he's familiar with and comfortable with up front than to pay a middle linebacker that, in my opinion, isn't going to be the end-all, be-all of whether the Chiefs win another Super Bowl, because even look at this season. I mean, you got Drew Tranquill on a one-year, $5 million deal. This is a guy that no one was paying for some damn reason this offseason. 28 years old, really good with the Chargers, knew this division really well, has stepped in, and the defense hasn't missed a beat. And if anything, if you look at their third down conversion percentage, it actually goes down a whole percentage since Nick Bolton's been gone. So that's not a knock on Nick. That's the fact that Brett Veach has been able to go and find guys that are contingency plans that step in and show out. So I think it's easier to replace a Nick Bolton than it would be to replace a Trey Smith, even though you've named other guys. I love Darian Kennard, but do we know that he could step in and give us the nasty like Trey Pancake Papa does? I don't know. All I do know is that when Pancake Papa's there are pancakes all over the ground. It looks like it's presented to you by IHOP.
Right.
So this man's out there doing his thing. I would love to see him stay here. Hopefully they can figure out a way to keep Bolton as well. He might be a little pricey though, man. So that might be another guy that, because if you notice, the Chiefs have the third cheapest defense in the league and the youngest defense. I don't think that's by accident. I think that's how Brett Veach wants to keep it. So I don't think you're going to see a lot of expensive guys on this defense anytime soon.
Yeah, well, here's my thing. I think the offensive guard is a little bit easier to replace. If you think about it, there's always the top-tier offensive guards in all the draft. They always go right at the end of the first, which is where we're picking, right at the top, right in the second round. I think it's easier, in my opinion, than to have to go out. I do think, okay, look, Tranquill's been a great signing. He's filled in for Nick Bolton pretty admirably. But I feel like there is a little bit of an edge difference without Nick Bolton on the field. It could just be me. I just don't think the team looks as nasty with Drew Tranquill over Nick Bolton. Like, it's just, I don't know. Maybe I'm just a Nick Bolton.
I agree.
I don't know.
I 100% agree.
I want to see
Bolton is better than
sign
Tranquill.
Bolton. Right.
Yeah.
I want to see him sign Bolton. I don't want to see him cut anybody, but look, it's reality. You're going to have to start moving money around. Brett Veach over the past few years, he's kind of skimped out on the corner a little bit. He's went more to the draft. He's skimped out on the wide receivers we've seen played out this year. And so far, it looks like he signed a bunch of slot receivers and missed on that one a little bit. You have been dying on the DeAndre Hopkins hill forever, but we were with you. We thought in the offseason we needed a big-time number one receiver that Patrick Mahomes has never had outside of Tyreek Hill. And I'm not saying Tyreek Hill's not the greatest receiver in the game, but he's not that big, imposing physical presence that's going to move the chains and just go get your, you know what I mean? Like, he's not that guy. He's not the Devontae Adams type. He's not that guy that DeAndre Hopkins would have been. Do you think the Chiefs' offense right now is going to recover? Do you think any of these receivers are going to step up? Or do you think this is going to be a lingering, nagging issue that eventually could get us booted out of the first, second round of the playoffs?
Well, let me first answer the first part of that question. No, I don't believe that things are just going to all of a sudden change and all of a sudden the Chiefs have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith on their offense. I don't believe, because I'm going to stay consistent with what I've said from day one since the Super Bowl ended, free agency began, my mind changed to, okay, where are the Chiefs' needs? If you look at this roster right now, the Chiefs don't have a lot of needs. And if you look at this roster, they really don't have any other weakness other than wide receiver. And it just so happens to be that weakness is a glaring weakness. And everybody told me coming into this season, hey, listen, Lance, they're 7 deep, man. You know, they got these guys and these guys. And I asked everybody constantly, which one of those guys do you know will be the wide receiver one? Well, they traded for Kadarius Toney, so that's got to be the guy. He had a really good punt return in a Super Bowl that the Chiefs already had a lead in. So I guess that makes him the wide receiver one, right? No, this guy got 7 snaps in their last game. So this is a real problem the Chiefs have been having all season, and they're lucky as hell they got Patrick Mahomes as their quarterback to make up for those deficits, because of the fact if you had just an average quarterback with these wide receivers, this offense would look even more lost, man. And it's just so coincidental to me, and I've been telling people this constantly. Is it any coincidence to anybody else? Patrick Mahomes has the greatest 5-year stretch to start a career ever. And then the season that the Chiefs decide to sit on their hands at wide receiver, he's having his worst season. Now, to other standards, he's having a good season. In fact, I think he's second in the league right now in odds to win MVP. That's just how great he is. But he's struggling every single game. Even in the games that they've scored decent amount of points, it's felt hard. It's felt like they've had to really work through it to the point where they're relying on tight end twos like Noah Gray, who are good players, but that shouldn't be a guy that makes a pivotal play in a big game.
Right.
That should be a guy that if there's an injury or Travis Kelce needs a blow, you put him in the game for 12 to 15 snaps. Those shouldn't be pivotal guys, but unfortunately, that's what's going to happen. So what I did on our show in the Spoken Podcast this last Saturday is I just came up with 3 solutions, and 2 of them are wide receivers. I just don't know if they're attainable. One is Rashee Rice. You have to start throwing him the ball more. I know that sounds oversimplified, but think about it. He plays 41 snaps in the Dolphins game, only gets 2 targets, but even with those 2 targets, he makes the most of them by getting 2 snags and gets a touchdown with one of them, and most of it was yak yards. So this kid is a playmaker. I just want to see them give him more opportunities. I know he's unfamiliar with the offense. Trust me, you got to tell me that, because I was the one that was saying that this guy wasn't going to have much of an impact this season because he's a rookie receiver in Andy Reid's offense. But here he is, looking like the guy that they're relying on. So it's a twisted motion of what's going on with wide receiver. The second solution, you got to make sense of the Kadarius Toney trade. I'm not a believer in Kadarius Toney. When I heard they traded for him, I'm like, hey, this guy's got a ton of skill out of Florida. The Giants clearly didn't want him and never fit there. Maybe it was a scheme thing. I don't know. But this guy's got to prove to me that he can do what it requires to be a special player in this offense, because he's got big shoes to fill. He's yet to do it, man. And it looks like there's less and less faith in Andy Reid, in Patrick Mahomes. You saw it. And half of his snaps in week 1 without Travis Kelce there, they gave him prime opportunity to be the guy, to show that he could do it. He single-handedly lost them that game. And since then, you've seen a regression of snaps and opportunities. So you have to make sense of that trade in the second half of the season. Show us what he is, because Andy Reid's out here trying to justify how they're using him or not using him. Man, there's no more excuses. This is year 2 now. This is year 3 of his career. You got to make sense of that trade, because his rookie deal's coming up. What are you going to do with it? My third and final, I know I'm going long here. You have to unleash Jerick McKinnon now in this offense. We saw them do this exact same thing last season, and I have to believe you bring back a 31-year-old veteran, undersized running back for the same reasons. You believe he can do that again. The first part of the season last year, he had about 200 yards and 1 touchdown. The second half of the season, the man had over 330 yards and 8 touchdowns in the passing game. We got to see it again. That's this offense, and that was back when they had Juju, a reliable wide receiver. Maybe not a wide receiver 1. They had a reliable guy in Juju. They don't have that guy right now. So you have to unleash Jerick McKinnon now. You can't wait till December like they did last year. You got to do it now, because you saw when Travis Kelce was doubled and triple teamed against the Dolphins, who was the dump-off screen? Jerick McKinnon. He walked right in the end zone. That's going to be there for the Chiefs. It's just going to come down to whether they do it or not. Those are my 3 solutions. But, man, to answer your question as honestly and as candidly as I can, this team's got a real problem at wide receiver. I don't believe it's going to get any better. So it's going to come down to how great can Patrick Mahomes be, and how often can him and Travis Kelce be the GOAT-to-GOAT connection that we know them to be, because it's going to come down to them and this great defense winning games like it's 1994, because they set this team up that way, man. So we got to hope for the best here. They have a great chance, but it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, I spoke with Marcus yesterday. I agree with all that. I think the big problem with the offense is not the individual wide receiver and the talent the wide receiver has. I think it's trying to find a spot for them in this offense and use them properly. I do not think they've used Skyy Moore properly since he's been drafted. The kid forced the most missed tackles in all the NCAA. He had the most yak yards in all the NCAA. And yet with the Chiefs, they're not getting him the ball. They're not getting him the ball in space. They're not trying. Like, he needs to be running out of the slot. He is your slot receiver because he does not win on the outside. I've looked through all the stats. I've looked through all the games. He is complete ass on the outside. He cannot do it. Rashee Rice is a slot guy, but he can win on the outside. He's got a big body, and he produces. His 2 best games of the season, he had more snaps on the outside than he did in the slot this year. Nobody believes that. It's true. Go look it up. Kadarius Toney, by the way, he can also play outside. His biggest game he's ever had with the Chiefs was probably the first game where he adjusted his gloves against the Jags. He got in the end zone. He played primarily 85% of those snaps from out wide. You don't always have to have all these guys battling for slot. Let Skyy Moore do it. Pepper this guy like Tom Brady used to pepper Julian Edelman and all those guys from the slot, quick, early, often, get him in rhythm. And look, if he can't make nothing happen, if he continues to drop balls, then you move on from him. But I don't believe if you don't use him properly, you cannot move on from him just yet. Like, that's my whole thing. And I'm with you. Rashee Rice, he needs to be used more. But at the same time, why are they not throwing him the ball? How does he have 41 snaps, but yet Mahomes finds them 2 times. Like, is Mahomes just refusing to take what he has and he's forcing it? Like, is there a Mahomes? You mentioned earlier, Mahomes has had a good season by standards, but for Chiefs standards, Mahomes not looked that great this year. There's been games. The Jets game, he looked completely lost. The Denver game, I know he had the flu. He looked like trash. He's had his moments where he does not look very good this year. And I'll be the first to say, I think it's because Brett Veach skimped and listened to the fans say, hey, he can win with the water boy. And I think we see that he does have to have some talent around him because it's too easy to play a too high safety set. And I think Nagy's in his ear saying, hey, buddy, let's keep taking those shots. He's not doing the Bieniemy route where he's like, look, take the underneath and let's move the chains and do it right.
You nailed it. That's exactly what I was saying on our show this last week. Is the problem started before the season even began. Look, the best and worst thing that happened to the Chiefs last year was winning the Super Bowl, because obviously winning the Super Bowl is the best thing that can happen. But winning it the way they did, it did convince Brett Veach that they don't have to take the wide receiver room seriously. And no offense to Brett, because like I said, I just sang his praises about how he can draft his ass off in the cornerback room and has been, wheeling and dealing on that defensive side and has given Spags the best defense he's had since 2007. But on the other side of this, he has really whiffed a few times at the wide receiver room, and we've seen that time and time again. Your points on Skyy Moore are valid, and that is where the coaching comes into, because it doesn't make sense what Brett Veach has done from the top, where he, went this offseason and said, no, we have enough at wide receiver. Then the trade deadline comes, and they sit on their hands, they double down and say, no, we have enough. And then Andy Reid, who we have to give credit and criticism to when it comes to the scheme side of things, because Nagy and EB are simply the guys that are puppeteers in the offense. They're just simply doing what Andy says in this offense. He's still running this offense as if it's 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2021. These deep shots, these big, fade routes, these big game-breaking plays. You don't have Tyreek Hill anymore. You don't have anything close to Tyreek Hill anymore. It's so bad you have to rely on gimmicks. You had to go and get McCole Hardman back. I'm a McCole guy, but you literally 5 months ago said, no, McCole, we don't want you. And you're already trading for him, not signing him, trading for him. And so that shows you that the Chiefs realized that they messed up and how they did this thing with the offense. When it comes to Patrick Mahomes, man, look, there's a stat out there, and I could send it to you, but I just saw it yesterday, and I actually tweeted it. Patrick Mahomes is actually having his best season when it comes to on-target passes. The team just happens to lead and drops with 25. I think it's a schematic issue. I 100% agree with you. They're not setting these wide receivers up for success in the way they're utilizing them, but I also think these wide receivers are showing that they're not capable of being at where they are ranked, at the echelon, the hierarchy, rather, of where they're supposed to be. That's why MVS had a good season as a wide receiver 3 last year, because he's a wide receiver 3. Right. He's not a wide receiver 2. He sure as hell ain't a wide receiver 1. That's why you see him struggling, because they're having him out there playing 65 snaps as if he is that guy, and he's not getting even a single reception. You have to have guys come bring you down a peg. They didn't get that guy, and that's why they're struggling, man.
I'm with you. MVS, they're paying this guy $33 million over 3 years to run wind sprints. Like,
I know.
Look, it's not working. I was telling Marcus yesterday, we had somebody in the chat calling him Applebee's because he's good for a 2 for $20. That's hilarious. That was one of the funniest things I ever heard. Guys, there are 470 people watching right now on this Thursday afternoon. We appreciate you. Hit that like button if you do not care. Hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 20K by the end of the year, and we just passed 17K today.
Take that, YouTube.
Awesome. Yeah, take that, YouTube. Suck it. They'll probably demonetize us again in January. Either way, take a second, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't. Also, Lance, he is on YouTube as well, The Spoken Podcast. I'll go back and I'll put all the links to all of Lance's stuff in the description so you guys can click on that, and I'll go back and do that for Marcus as well with Chief Concerns yesterday. They're trying to get to 5K before the end of the season, and he said that he hoped that the ACU crew would help them out to reach that goal, and I think you guys will. Having a good time talking with Lance today. Had a good time talking with Marcus yesterday. Steve, again, not with us. He cannot find any time off work. This guy's been working like a maniac here at the holiday season. I'll say this. Let's answer a few questions from the ACU crew. So you guys throw some questions in there for me and Lance. We'll answer a few because we've been kind of going at it a little bit. While we're waiting for the questions to roll in, Lance, we've talked about Sneed. We've talked about just all the offseason issues. And look, all the issues that we're saying, whether Mahomes is down a little bit, he skimped on the wide receivers. You got this, you got that. I think that the overall theme is that it's just a total team effort, and that's why we're down this year. I don't think you can blame specifically Nagy. I don't think you can blame specifically Mahomes. You can't blame the offensive line. I don't think there's one part. I think it works as a unit. That's the beauty of this game we call football that we love. You have to get together as a team, and I think that's what Andy knows, and that's why Andy every day is like, hey, we just got to get better. We got to clean up the penalties. He's looking at it more from a team aspect. He's not going to call out individual players. We already know it. That's what fans do. But yeah, I'm with you. I don't think MVS and all these guys are it. MVS has got a pass over one half of a Cincinnati Bengals game. He's got a complete pass. Kadarius Toney has to prove that they got to keep continuing to prove that they won that trade, I believe. I think if you looked at it last year, we won the trade. If you start looking at it this year, it starts getting closer to the 50-50 split. There's just a lot of things we got to do. Before we answer some questions, I want to ask you one thing. Very simple. You don't have to explain yourself because I understand what's gonna go into this. But are you ready to call? Because I see it all the time. Are you ready to call Skyy Moore a bust as of right now?
Yes, I am.
You're ready to call him a bust. Okay. We thought he was going to have a big year this year. I'm tired of making excuses for Skyy Moore, but I cannot get on board with that until I see Skyy Moore used properly. That's like saying DeAndre Hopkins, if he would have come into the season or when he was drafted, and they would have used him as a gadget guy like Mecole Hardman. And then they'd have been like, oh, well, he's not getting nothing. You know what I'm trying to say? I feel like you have to use him properly to a certain extent. Because if you look at him, he's getting separation. He's getting open. There's a few times he's getting open. Mahomes is not throwing the ball. There's a few times that he's creating the separation. Mahomes has got a horrendous passing accuracy grade throwing towards Skyy Moore. I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's chemistry. I don't know what it is. But I feel like I'm about 50-50 on him. I just can't get over the hump with calling him that until I see that they at least try to get him the ball. If you put him in the slot and give him 3-4 designed screens, jet screens, something like that, then I'll say, look, he's dropped 3 of those. He didn't pick up nothing. I'll go with it. But I think he's got to have a little bit in his wheelhouse before you can say that, right?
I would agree that we just got to talk about how we don't believe the scheme has been setting these guys up for success more times than not. Having said that, we understand that Andy Reid is one of the smartest, if not the smartest offensive mind in the NFL. So we know that he's going to continually pay attention to everything he's got going on. I think you would agree with me when I say that Skyy Moore is a more talented receiver than Justin Watson. But Patrick Mahomes loves throwing to Justin Watson, has a much higher success rate throwing to Justin Watson. And the reason why that is because Justin Watson runs the routes the right way. And we've seen numerous times, and I've watched the All-22s as well. A guy named Daniel Harms also breaks this down on Twitter, where he shows... Yeah, where you see there's a dig route that Skyy's running or a fade route that Skyy's running or whatever the route is, and you see him fading off or not running it sharply, and then Patrick, you can tell. And this is why I told people, look, just go watch how Patrick throws the ball to Travis Kelce, and then go watch how he throws to everybody else. Now you can say, well, that's the tenure, that's the chemistry. Yes, but it's because he knows that where Travis is going. There's a camaraderie there. There's conviction with the releases. He knows where he's going to be. With Skyy Moore, he knows where he's supposed to be, but he doesn't throw with that same conviction, and this is year 2 with these guys, and they practice all spring together in Texas. There's still not that camaraderie, so I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to the 2-time Super Bowl MVP, 2-time MVP Patrick Mahomes and say that it's probably more on the wide receiver than him as to why they're not connecting yet. Because like I said, a journeyman and Justin Watson and Patrick Mahomes clicked immediately. They didn't have any history together, and they're finding dimes between each other every single time they throw the ball. He throws the ball to Justin Watson. So I want to see Skyy Moore. I was a big believer in Skyy Moore coming out of the draft. I would love for him to prove me wrong at this point, but man, I got to look and see what I see. And right now, he looks like a guy that the Chiefs overreached on, man.
Yeah. Coming out of the MAC, though, coming out of Western Michigan, you knew he was behind. If he was playing SEC, if he was playing ACC, Pac-12, if you got that competition, I just think you have to give him more than what's he played? He's
25
played
games?
25 games? Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
That's a lot of games, man.
It is. But again, a lot of games out of position, in my opinion.
True.
But that's an Andy offense. We know. You got to play them all. And they should have accounted for that. And to me, that's a miss by Veach. That's a miss by the recruiting, the staff. Yep. If you can't play all those positions, then why did you draft them? Simple as that. Let's answer a few questions really quick. I'll go to the chat here. What's up, Shane? Shane Boring, my man. We actually met Shane. Shane was at our event, Chew with the Crew.
Oh, yeah,
He'd come in. Yeah, he says, Mike and Lance, who do you want to see the Chiefs take on in the AFC Championship game? Lance, I'll let you have that. This is assuming the Chiefs get to the AFC Championship game again.
Well,
and I guess we're hosting. We're hosting.
Yeah, in the scenario that the Chiefs are hosting, I don't see how there would be anything more satisfying than beating the Dolphins again. Because they didn't get that chance this time around at Arrowhead because the game was in Frankfurt. Even Tyreek Hill said himself he would have loved to have played it at Arrowhead. You know, the energy would be insane. Just with the fact that of just everything that's happened between those two, I think the only true rival, though, the Chiefs have had over the last couple of years has been the Bengals. The problem is the Bengals aren't going to make the playoffs, so that's going to be a real issue for the Chiefs to play them in the AFC Championship if they don't even get to the dance. So I think that if I'm looking at all the playoff teams right now, I think just from a satisfaction perspective, it's got to be the Dolphins just because of the Tyreek Hill narrative and story.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like that. The Bengals would have been fun. I think they may sneak into the playoffs. I'm not for sure. I looked at their schedule coming out. I think I commented on you. I could easily see them winning 4 or 5 games just by like one single score and just sliding in there.
You're giving them a lot of credit, man.
I mean, look, I watched that game against the Texans the other day, and I know Joe Burrow threw 2 picks there late. But one of those was, like, not the worst, and his receiver popped the ball up in the air, and I don't know. Like, I'm not the hugest Joe Burrow fan, and I'm going to tell you why I do this. Every time I trash Joe Burrow, he goes off. Every time I give him some credit, he throws a pick. So you know
That's
what?
fair.
I love Joe Burrow. He's going to be awesome the rest of the year. That's what I think. So let's see if we can get him out of contention. Don't they play tonight, actually?
Yeah, they play the Ravens in about, an hour and a half?
Yeah, so Bengals-Ravens, who you want to win that? Do you want the Bengals to win it just to knock the Ravens down a peg?
Yeah, if you're looking at it from a selfish perspective, you want the Bengals to win this game, but I think the Ravens are going to win this game because they're at home. They're the healthier team, even though they're going to be without Marlon Humphrey. They're at home, pissed off after a really just bad loss to the Browns. I think the Bengals are coming in really banged up. They won't have Hubbard. They won't have Higgins. Jamar Chase is banged up. I think Hendrickson's going to be a game-time decision. It's going to be an ugly AFC North classical game, but I think that Lamar Jackson and his guys, I think they're just going to do just enough, get a 3-4 point victory.
If the Bengals win tonight, if they surprise the world, win tonight with all the injuries, everything, do you still say they're out of the playoffs? Or do you think this turns it?
I've already put dirt on them. I was a guy that even said before the season they were going to finish third in this division with Joe Burrow's injury and things of that nature, and the fact they lost Jesse Bates and some really good defenders on that other side of the ball, which they very much hinged upon, especially in big matchups like with the Chiefs. I just think that this is one of those seasons where a lot of pressure is heaping up on teams like the Bengals, like the Bills, and you're starting to see the cracks in their foundation. And once they started losing games they shouldn't have been losing, man, on a consistent basis. And Joe, I still don't know how healthy he is. He looks healthier. He still looks awesome. Him and Jamar Chase have that connection going. But again, man, they just seem to be a team that is just very caught up in the moment right now with their injuries. And with Higgins hurt, not knowing his future, I think there's some tension there between him and the Bengals because supposedly he was supposed to have a contract done this offseason. That didn't happen. So I just think that right now, man, this team's very distracted with a lot of unknowns about what's going on. And with their schedule still very tough and losing to teams like the Texans, a game they had to win. That's a game they would have won that game. I would still have the Bengals in the playoffs. Losing a game like that. I know the Texans are a coming up team. C.J. Stroud's a good quarterback, and I really like the kid. You can't lose that game, especially with Joe throwing a interception in the end zone in the fourth quarter. Tyler Boyd dropping a touchdown that would have won the game. I think this team's too far gone, man. They missed their opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, it was right there. Look, I don't want to dog C.J. Stroud, but everybody is really high on C.J. Stroud. I haven't got to watch him. I have not seen him with my eyes until that Bengals game in the fourth quarter, and he looked like trash. He looked like trash. He looked like a rookie that was lost. And I was like, that's the first time I'm seeing this guy, and you guys are putting him in the MVP conversation? This dude rolls out and pulls his best Oladokin impression against the Saints and just almost throws a pick six right there at the end of the game. And I'm like, what is he doing? He's overthrowing receivers. Look, I can't buy into C.J. Stroud. I keep telling everybody this too. They're like, look, C.J. Stroud, blah, blah, blah. He's awesome. I'm like, dude, it's been a half a season. We've seen Deshaun Watson tear it up for 2 years, and now he sucks. Like, this guy's getting more wax off at the Cleveland Clinic than he's getting touchdown passes. Like, it's not happening. It's not happening. So be careful, calling somebody, after 5 good games. Julia with a question. She says, do you see Buffalo missing the playoffs? If so, does Diggs go nuclear? I'll say I thought that their window closed this year, and I think they may still squeeze in the playoffs somehow mathematically, but I don't think they're a threat. I don't think they're a threat to go to the Super Bowl.
I picked the Bills before the season began to miss the playoffs, and I had Bills Mafia so pissed. But I think it's because
I've done the same thing with the Bengals.
I think
we're on target here.
I think it's honestly because these people understand their mortality. See, when these teams started to compete with the Mahomes-led Chiefs, they felt like they were going to stay at that same level. But they don't understand. They don't have a Mahomes. They don't have, to Brett Veach's credit, a GM that's building the team the way the Chiefs have built it. And they've built it a very smart way, a very different way. And so these teams, look at the Von Miller contract. They technically can't get out of that contract for another 2 seasons. They could eat a ton of dead cap if they want to, but that's going to kill their cap that right now I think going into 2024 is going to be the 3rd worst outside of the Saints and the Chargers going into next season. So they're already screwed as it is. They have the oldest roster in the NFL. I think it's almost at 28 years old on average. Josh Allen is, I mean, people say, well, he's like Brett Favre. And that's giving him way too much credit because at least Brett Favre could get to the damn Super Bowl.
Right.
Josh Allen is a freak
machine,
talent.
Man.
He's a freak talent, but the dude's got almost 100 turnovers in 6 seasons. Stephon Diggs is 100% leaving. It's just a matter of when, not if, because what a Trayvon Diggs said, which, by the way, those tweets are still up. If Stephon Diggs didn't want his brother saying that stuff, he would either never have tweeted it at all or it would have been deleted. Neither have happened. So Stephon Diggs is clearly pissed. Getting blown out at home against the Bengals last year in the postseason was, I think, the nail in the coffin. This team cracked, and the history tells us, after year 5, between a coach and a quarterback duo, if they don't win a Super Bowl, they never have. In NFL history, year 5 was last season for the Bills and Josh Allen and Sean McDermott. They're done. They're not making the playoffs. I think Sean McDermott's getting fired at the end of the season, and they're going to have to rebuild this team around Josh Allen, who, again, as time is going on, is still becoming more and more of a turnover-prone quarterback. So the Bills have a lot of worries on their hands, man.
Right. I think their window's closed. I think it's done, man. I just don't see it. That's the last question we're going to take today. I got to jump off here. I'm sure Lance has to go. Lance, I really appreciate you jumping on and talking with me. We've got to do it again, man. I think the chemistry's good. I really do. I thought so with Marcus yesterday too, man. That's the first time I'd ever hung out with Marcus too, man. And I thought the chemistry was pretty good. But with you, we've already met each other, man. I knew it was going to be a good show. So I appreciate you being on here.
Whenever you want me, man.
A shout out, dude. Where they can find you.
So every Saturday, guys, we do a live stream on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere you can find podcasts on the podcast side, but we do a live stream every Saturday, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. It's the Spoken Podcast. It's me and my younger brother, Trevor Twidwell. We do a show every single week. Like I said, we have great guests on. We're going to be getting Mike and Steve on very soon, I promise you guys. And we talk a lot of Chiefs, a lot of NFL, but we give you guys, a lot like Mike does, an opportunity to take over. In fact, Julia Gooley has been a person that's taken over our chat quite a bit. We have this segment called Speak It, and you guys just take over the segment. We just react to whatever it is you guys want to talk about. It's MMA, NBA, whatever you guys want to talk about. We're fans of it all. So we appreciate this platform, Mike. I'm so glad we got to finally do this, bro, because I couldn't agree more. For sure. We this was fun. It blew by. Holy hell, man. I did not realize we were already an hour over. But whenever you want me, bro, let me know, and I'll make time, and we got to get you on the show, man. So I really appreciate you, and I appreciate all the ACU crew, bro, because you guys are all awesome, and I love you guys to death, and I appreciate you guys so much.
Yeah, man, it's been great having you. We'll definitely get you back, and we got to get on your show, too. That's going to be fun. But, yeah, guys, we appreciate you guys for coming and hanging out. Short notice, actually hardly any notice. We do not go live on Thursdays. But thanks for showing up. Hit that like button on the way out. We're almost at 200 likes on the day. That's insane. Be sure to go follow Lance. If you haven't hit that sub button for us as well. We're trying to get to 20K. We appreciate you guys. And, Lance, any quick predictions on the game? What's the score going to be on Monday night, man?
I think the Chiefs are going to win this game. It's going to be an ugly one. It's going to be a short. You know how these games go, man, where it's always close, it's stressful. But I think the Chiefs are going to pull this one out. If I'm giving you a score right now, which I didn't really have one, but I'll give you one off the cuff.
Okay.
I think the Chiefs defense is going to keep this Eagles rush offense a little bit under where they're accustomed to, along with AJ Brown, Devontae Smith. Everybody assumes they're going to go off. I don't, because of what the guys we talked about, Trent McDuffie and L'Jarius Sneed. I think they're going to stifle it as well. Jalen Hurts' knee, we don't know about that. Goddard's out. I think this Eagles offense scores 17 points. The Chiefs win this game. I would say 24 to 27 to 17. I think the Chiefs shock some people to be close throughout, but I think the Chiefs are going to show everybody why they're the best team in the NFL and why they're going to repeat as Super Bowl champions.
I love it, man. You got Andy off the bye week. I'm ready to get back at it, dude. It's almost Thanksgiving, dude. It's only gonna be like 3 days till Thanksgiving after we play. It's insane. The season's flying by. Like I remember going to camp and being like, "Is this thing ever gonna start?" Now it's almost over. It's crazy. Following the Chiefs is a wild ride, man. I've been doing it for 40 years, and it is the wildest ride every year, win or lose. But Lance, I appreciate you being here. Everybody, hit the sub button, hit the like button on the way out, and you all have a good one. And we'll catch you guys later. Go Chiefs.
There goes a sight from my soul.